What's up, you guys? Mo Awesome from Awesome MTB, and welcome to the Awesome MTB Ultimate XC Bike Shootout. This bike literally puts the biggest smile on your face. Just how short that rear end is. You just come into sections, then all of a sudden you're like gapping into it, and the rear end is just so tucked. What's going on, you guys? Mo Awesome here from Awesome MTB, and welcome back to the Awesome MTB XC Buyer's Guide. Over the last few weeks, we have been testing out 7 of the best XC bikes on the market and really trying to figure out who each bike is for and what is the ultimate XC bike. In today's video, we're going to be breaking down the Evil Following, a bike that is probably going to catch a lot of people by surprise that it actually is in this Buyer's Guide. I feel like Evil and cross country don't necessarily go hand in hand, or at least people don't think they go hand in hand. However, here we have the Evil Following with 120 millimeters of travel and actually very similar geo numbers as the Specialized Epic. You can really tell that Evil was ahead of the curves in terms of geometry with short travel rigs. And on top of that, we have Flight Attendant and a really lightweight build overall to put this thing in this short travel cross-country bike buyer's guide. I also want to say that I am actually a little bummed out that I'm actually shooting this video, because by shooting it, I know that I'm going to have to edit this footage soon, and that Evil at some point will see a review of their bike and realize that I am done testing, because I really don't want to send this bike back. Now, before we get into the actual review, I do want to give a huge thank you to Pro Bike Supply, who actually is a partner of this buyer's guide. We knew going into this that we wanted to partner up with a special shop, and Pro Bike Supply was the first bike shop that came to mind because they specialize in custom builds. Their customer service is second to none. They have so many awesome brands to choose from, and on top of that, they really do care about making your dream a reality. They can ship all over the country, and on top of that, they have professional mechanics to assemble your bike, so you can rest assured knowing that as soon as the bike arrives to you, it is going to be ready to hit the trails. Once again, you guys, so many awesome brands to choose from over there. The customer service is amazing, and they take care of friends of the channel. So be sure to let them know that we sent you, and they will take care of you. So once again, you guys, like I said, this is the Evil Following in their brand new super light build with Rockshox Flight Attendant. The frame itself is actually a size extra large. I am 6'2" for reference, and this thing fits me like a glove. Up front, we do have a Rockshox Ultimate up front. Once again, you guys, with Flight Attendant, and it does pair to a SID rear shock, also with Flight Attendant. Ram XXSL drivetrain with a power meter crank, and we do have that transmission in the rear. For the dropper post, a Reverb AXS. Once again, you guys, with this bike having Flight Attendant, all of the systems paired together, you technically only need the power meter on this thing. However, they have chosen to go with the whole ecosystem, which only gives the Flight Attendant more information to compute. For the wheels, we actually have Industry 9 ultralight carbon wheels, W2B Ranger 2.25 tires, which are a tad on the narrower side. Have a full NV setup with the NV M6 carbon handlebars on there, as well as an NV stem and Evil grips. SRAM level ultimate brakes. They're 4-piston brakes from SRAM. And as you guys can tell by the front, it is a very clean setup. Once again, you guys, that comes down to the AXS transmission setup as well as the Flight Attendant. So even though this bike has a remote lockout, there's no actual cables for that remote lockout. The bike itself does utilize Evil's tried and true Delta system, a Dave Weigel suspension design. I do also want to note that this bike does only have room for 1 water bottle cage in the frame. However, you do have a flip chip on here. It has 2 settings, actually a low or X low, and you can do so by flipping these 2 chips. As you guys can tell, the bike is a very classy all black frame design, and this is probably one of the best looking bikes in this buyer's guide. Now, the Evil Following with the SID XX Flight Attendant build actually comes in at a very reasonable weight, right around 26 pounds, and that is going to be in line with our 24 to 26 pound weight range of this buyer's guide. Now that we've covered the actual bike itself, let's take this thing out on the trail so you guys can see how it performs, and then let's tell you guys the things that I absolutely love about this bike, the things that I don't necessarily love about this bike, and how this bike stacks up against bikes like the Specialized Epic as well as the Yeti ASR and other more cross-country offerings. All right, you guys, you know what time it is. Another bike review on the XC Shootout. This is the Evil Following. Probably one of the most unique bikes in the build, because not only does it have Flight Attendant, but it's an Evil following, a bike that not many people would think would be in this XC shootout. Now, I never thought I'd be saying this, but it's crazy the amount of similarities this shares with the Specialized S-Works Epic. Both have 120 mils of travel, both are SID XX SL builds, both have Rockshox Flight Attendants. Evil was one of the first to figure out short travel bikes, make them slack, lower the BBs, and make them fun. Right now I actually have the bike in the extra low position, because as crazy as this sounds, the extra low position is actually going to be the setting to get this bike more in line with other bikes in this category, which really goes to show you how far XC and short travel bikes has come. I haven't had to lock out any suspension because it's locked it out for me. The flight attendant, very smart. Deepest part, can we make it? No problem. It's so easy to keep the front end down on the following, primarily because that lower stack height. And everyone's favorite part of the review, and honestly my favorite part about riding this bike, the downhills. This thing is a blast. Oh my God, God, chill out. This thing just goes so freaking fast, literally everywhere. So snappy, and the suspension design feels so freaking good. At times I almost forget I'm on a short travel rig. And you know what? Sometimes it's slightly terrifying because this is an XC build. So we have some race cross-country tires. And when you do stuff like that, oh my God. Oh my God, this bike just wants to go faster and faster. I almost feel bad that it doesn't have the tread it needs, but this is an XC test. Frame is so stiff. Probably one of the stiffer frames in the test. Just huck into it. Oh my God. You guys, I need this XC test to end. I need some minions up front. Way up this. Suspension's locked right now. Is it gonna open? It opens. Changes in flight attendant are by the microsecond. And it is insane how smart this system is. Now, it's not without its downsides, and we'll touch on that in the long-term flight attendant review. In terms of putting a smile on my face, this bike definitely is, I would say, maybe one of the funnest bikes in the test. So this is an XC test, so we do have to talk about climbing as well, because I have really been trying to put the pace down on this through time testing. It does very well out of the saddle. And I do find myself pretty impressed by the acceleration of this thing and the traction. I do feel like the seat angle is a touch slack in this setting. However, not an issue. And that short rear end really does make those steep, switchy backy sections very manageable. I could totally see myself having flight attendant on my future build, because sections like this, I don't even have to think about locking the shock out. It's just freaking instantly, and then it opens up for stuff like that. Locks right back up. One of the funnest sections, I think, on this trail. And this bike only makes it that much better. God, it's crazy how capable it is. Coming on down. Nice. How's it going, man? Have a good ride. And this is where I do a lot of my frame stiffness tests. Man, this frame is so stout. Truly think one of the stiffest in the test, which leads to some insane precision. Up and over. Now, if only it can remind me to shift. It's gonna be the funnest part on this bike. Oh my God. Oh, this bike is so good at cornering. It's like dangerous how hard this bike corners in the extra load mode. Suspension design is so active. I really think Evil might have one of the best suspension designs on the market, and just a unique feel to it. The biggest smiles on my face have come after rides on this. Let's go and talk some more about it. So let's talk about some things that I absolutely love about this bike and some stuff that I don't necessarily love. This thing corners in that X-Low setting like an absolute monster. I was actually terrified how hard this bike hit corners and shot me out of them. It put a smile on my face that I didn't realize I could actually possess. Man, I was just grinning from ear to ear, and I truly think that this bike possesses the most special cornering abilities out of all of the bikes in this test. Now, I do want to say that even though this bike and the Epic can probably compete for who has the lower bottom bracket height, what I really appreciated about the bottom bracket height on this bike is that even though it was low, the head angle in the X-Low setting actually only goes to about 66.6, so you still retain the nimbleness from the front end, even though you have that stability in and out of corners. And I feel like that's going to contribute a lot to the maneuverability overall of this bike. Another thing that I do want to mention here is that short chainstay, because that's going to contribute to what I really do feel like makes this bike so special, and that's its playfulness. Like I said, that short chainstay on there allows you to really put the rear end of this bike exactly where you want it. However, unlike the Pivot Mach 4 SL, you don't get too short of an overall wheelbase, and that's because they actually went a little bit longer in the reach, and I feel like that's going to contribute to that high-speed stability that I definitely think you're going to need with this bike, because like I said, it is a monster out on the trails in the X-Low setting. And also the pedaling platform on this thing, it actually felt like it had a very decent pedaling platform in comparison to the other single pivot offerings in this test. Now, another thing that I absolutely love about this bike is going to be the Flight Attendant. And once again, you guys, that is probably why this bike made it into the buyer's guide, is because this bike with Flight Attendant really does go to show you where technology has gone. With Flight Attendant, you take a bike that's known a little bit more for its trail characteristics. What it allows it to do is take that 120mm platform, allow it to compete with bikes like the Epic and the Scalpel. As soon as you go out of the saddle, the suspension tightens up with Flight Attendant, but as soon as you start going downhill, the suspension opens up. And once again, you guys, I think it's very cool that a bike like this, a 120mm, what would have been a trail bike a few years ago, can compete with XC bikes in the current market with the Flight Attendant. Now, let's talk about some stuff that I don't necessarily love about the Evil following. The first thing that I want to talk about is going to be the low and the X-Low. I actually can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually do think that the low setting on the Evil following was a little bit too progressive for me. I am very interested in the future of Evil because, once again, you guys, this bike in the X-Low is absolutely perfect, and it's in line with current XC bikes. Where is XC going from here, and where are short travel bikes going? Are we going to start going into that 65-degree realm? It would be nice to see that flip chip actually X-Low being the standard and then having an XX-Low. Another thing to note is there was a lot of stiffness going on here between the wheel and frame combo. So the frame is stiff, like I said, and I actually did appreciate that. These wheels are also stiff because it actually utilizes Industry 9's own spokes. So that combo of wheel stiffness and frame stiffness, I can definitely see myself going with a little bit more of a compliant wheel in the future if I did go with the Evil following frame. Other than that, there was not too much to not love about the Evil following. I want to keep this thing. It was a really fun bike. Is it my favorite bike of this buyer's guide? And is it the best XC bike of 2025? Is it 2025? 24? And how does that other bike have 2025 suspension? Fox always throws me off. And is the Evil following the best XC bike of 2024 or 2025? You guys will have to wait for the conclusion of this awesome MTB XC buyer's guide. If you have any questions about the Evil following, definitely let us know in the comment section, and stay tuned for the conclusion of the awesome MTB XC buyer's guide.